Okie dokie. So just getting some feedback. Everyone can see the share screen. All right, terrific. Thank you. So firstly, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming along to our ecologic industry briefing. So my name's Doyley. I'm the industry manager with ecologic, and along with me today, I have Charlotte Lamb, senior industry advisor, as my co-host as well. So today's session is we haven't done one of these in a while, but really it's an opportunity to talk about what some of the upcoming procurement opportunities are for yourselves. I know that most of you dialing in here today are our manufacturers and supply chain partners providing recycled goods and services and circular materials, and we have a few other guests here as well. So it really is about covering that. And secondly, a bit of a soft launch and a bit of an update from us. The Recycle First policy as of July 1 has now expanded beyond the transport portfolio as well. So we have our colleagues here from the Victorian Health Building Authority here to talk to you about how they will be implementing that on their projects as well. So thank you for coming along. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge, although we're meeting virtually, that we still meet on traditional lands. So for me, I'm dialing into you today from the lands of the Bunurong people of the Eastern Kulin Nations. And I like to acknowledge their elders, past, present, and future, as well as any Aboriginal First Nations people that may be dialed into today's session, but also acknowledge people from the lands which you're dialing in from. So certainly, we call it circular economy and being sustainable, but I think our First Nations people have been caring for country for thousands of years before settlement. So really, in many ways, we're going back to the future with how we look after our resources and the theme what we're here to do today, which is again, sort of living harmoniously and I think building if we're building sustainably and yeah, ensuring that we keep everything to its highest order use. So without further delay, I think most of you know who ecologiQ are, but if not, it's a Victorian government program to implement for the last 4 years now a recycle first policy as part of a broader step change towards a circular economy. So in short, there's a great little picture graphic there that talks about what that is. I don't think I need to convince anyone here that we need to move away from sort of extract and use and landfill materials. These are not waste. Some have been calling it a waste, but when I say it is a waste, it is a resource. So we can reuse and repair and repurpose and keep and avoid as the highest priority. We have a huge pipeline of works for the state, and as with that consumption, I think how we do that really cleverly means that we can actually keep things at its highest order use and move towards that circular economy for Victoria. And how the policy works is twofold. For all the road and rail and tunneling projects that are in place that have this policy, it is about looking at each of these projects and how they might optimize use of recycled materials. So we use optimize because it needs to make sense from a carbon perspective, from a cost perspective, from an availability, constructability, all those elements, again, which it is about what's best fit for purpose. So it's not just about having a tunnel vision around using recycled materials, but secondly, a report on the volumes and quantities of those materials because the insight, the detail is in the data and in the reporting, and I'm happy to report that. Sorry, and with the updates from July 1, it means that now our Recycle First applies to any Victorian government project above $20 million or more, so not just our road, rail, and tunneling projects to date. And it actually applies during the request for proposal, request for tender stage. So it is a procurement policy. And then during the delivery projects and report back to the those projects to the relevant authorities, whether it's the road, rail, or in this instance, the Victorian Health Building Authority, will be capturing data on how much recycled materials and content is being used in their projects. And to date, we love a good infographic. Over 5.5 million tons of materials have been used on the big build projects for recycled materials. That's enough to fill 2 MCGs worth. And so we've had, I think over, you can see all the numbers that are there, but I think most importantly, since the introduction of the policy, we've seen a doubled uptake of recycled materials being used on the project. So it is working, having these policies in place. And I think really what that means here for you on dumping on this call is that there is a lot of opportunity here for you in the pipeline. And we're here to talk about some of those upcoming projects today. So without further delay, today's presentations we'll have three. The first one will be from Tom Fleming, who'll be joining us from the Momentum Consortium. It's the latest awarded Northeast Link project as part of the Eastern Freeway Burke to Hoddle Street to Burke Road Alliance. Following from that, so you'll have an opportunity to hear from Tom. He'll take you through their project and the scope of works, and you have an opportunity to ask Tom some questions. After that, we'll hear from Reid Beecham, who'll talk to you representing the Synergy Consortium, which is the other consortium delivering the other packages of work for the North East Link, which you can see there. How this works is we'll probably hear a 10 to 15 minute presentation from each, followed by a Q&A. And last but not least, we'll have an introduction from the Victorian Health Building Authority. I have Matthew, Rachel, and I think Lauren will be joining us shortly as well from the VHBA to talk about how they plan on implementing Recycle First. So we have a huge pipeline of hospitals being built here in Victoria as well. So without further delay, I'll now hand over to Tom. Tom, you can screen share and take us through what Momentum's doing for the Northeast Link project.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that, Doi. Let me just bring up my screen and share the sound here. Perfect. All right, is that sharing okay?
Perfect in mind.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So basically, we are the Eastern Freeway upgrade, the Hoddle Street to Burke Road upgrade. So one of the new packages that have come online, as well as the other package that Reid will present on. So a bit of a run through agenda for today. We're going to cover off some of the key project elements and overview. We'll go through some of the features and elements, as well as some of the innovations that we are looking at already in this early phase of the project as we start going out to procurement. So for just a bit of context, in where we sit in terms of the major projects, we sit underneath the Northeast Link here and part of the Eastern Freeway packages. The alliance that we're operating under as Momentum, we've got Seymour White and John Holland as the non-owner construction partners, as well as Jacobs and Mott McDonald as the non-owner designer partners. To start things off, I thought a video fly through is probably a good way of understanding the works that are going to happen across the Eastern Freeway. So I'll run through this quickly and I'll try and pause at some of the interesting parts when it gets to our part of the project. So we'll stop there just quickly. So we do have the busway that does span across the Eastern Freeway works. So it's a major change that will be coming online. We also do have the widening of the Eastern Freeway in general. We'll keep running through this and get a bit closer to our end of the package. I'll pause here. So our package begins at the Burke Road intersection here, and we work all the way back in towards the city, up to the Hoddle Street end of the job. So as I fly through a bit further, a lot of the project will include a upgrade shared user path, creating a bit more connectivity in this area, which previously hasn't existed. As well as some of the extra lanes. Some of the works here where we do have a lot of structural elements is around the Chandler Chandler Highway intersection. And as you can kind of see here, we do have the dedicated busway, which most of the job will run on the north side of the road, so over here, um, to the right of your screen there. And at the Chandler intersection, it does do an interesting part where the busway does have a flyover and splits that dedicated busway into traffic. So the buses heading into the city and buses heading out, so they won't run alongside each other as we come to this point. It's where they separate off. So there's a lot of structural work going on in this area. You can see from them highlight bits there, sorry. One of the other key features we've got is working right over the Yarra River here. We do have a structure where we're building a shared use of the path bridge, which does span over the top of the Yarra River there. So quite a sensitive area, and it is a big part of our urban design strategy to maximise that opportunity there, which we'll talk about in a bit more detail soon. Perfect. All right. So it is a very quick fly through, but hopefully it gives a bit of context of where our project sits in the greater program for the Northeast Link. So as this image shows, we do sit down here on the western side of the freeway. And this is a bit more of a project overview here. So the upgrade of the lanes is highlighted in black here. And then we do have the dedicated busway along in the yellow lines here, which splits off as we come into the city. And the shared user path of the job does run along the northern end of the project. So some key stats about the scope and the features. It's about 6 kilometres of road being upgraded between Hoddle and Burke. So an additional lane in each direction east of the Chandler Highway, and some new exit ramps at the Chandler Highway and Burke Road intersections. The entire new Eastern Freeway busway, which runs from Mary Creek to Burke Road. The extensive length of shared user paths that will be built to connect the pedestrian movement in this area. 3 new road bridges and a new steel truss shared user path bridge over the Yarra River, and then some associated work such as upgrading drainage and the inclusion of ITS and retaining walls, as well as some new noise walls being replaced across the project. So some of the key design themes that we're looking at for the project is really respecting the original design of the Eastern Freeway. It was quite an advanced design for when it was first built. So if you have driven through the area, there's some really big cuttings where you see a lot of the big rock faces, trying to really design into that original themes that were from that project, and the landscape that exists there currently. Improving the active and public transport connections, so the busway and the shared user path. And it is a very environmentally sensitive area, especially around that Yarra River bridge area. We do have some pretty sensitive species around there. We've had a big part of our design be co-designed with the Wurundjeri Wurrung to try and maximize our opportunities of integrating that cultural element into our urban design strategy. And so integrating and delivering a high quality landscape and urban design, and really delivering sustainable future-proofed outcomes. These are some of the renders of the project. So some of the interesting elements like the shared user path bridge. So it's a large steel truss bridge that incorporates a lot of the elements of what our urban design strategy is going to be. It's a corrugated cordon steel, structure to really tie into almost the tree landscape in the area. So that would be a really key feature of the project. And then here, the Chandler Highway interchange is the big aspect with the busway flyover to separate heading into the city. And you can see here as well, there's a bit of an underpass here as well for the buses heading out of the city. And then these ones are flying over to enter from the southern side of the road. In terms of some of the key design elements and packages that we'll be procuring, we have the ITS, which includes the ITS conduits, bits and pipes, with a lot of the gantries that will exist on the project as well. These structures is largely around some of them bridge elements. We do have a lot of concrete, steel reinforcement, steel box girders, bridge railing, and precast bridge beams. There is a large quantity of asphalt and concrete for our pavements when you look at the widening of the job and the concrete for the shared user path. The retaining wall structures, we have some RSS walls, RSS wall backfill, and some L-shaped walls across the project. And then the roadside structures is gantries. We do have some anti-throw screens for some of them pedestrian bridges, and a lot of roadside concrete barriers, which we'll get into some quantities shortly, but it is quite a large portion of the job is our barriers. And then the noise walls, which are a plastic noise wall. They are a really key feature in the area for our urban design elements, and tying that into the existing landscape. And then just general landscaping across the project will be done as well. So just to give you some context of what types of quantities we've estimated so far for the project, given that we are very still early in design, we've got over 12,000 cubic meters of structural concrete, and we've got 3,000 tons of reinforced steel. We've got structural steel in terms of the trough girders being 1,200 tons, and then the truss has been 100 tons. The noise walls, we've got over 3,000 meters of noise walls, and that's about 20,000 square meters when you look at the panel square meterage. The asphalt across the job, we've got 150,000 tons, and we do have some large lengths of drainage with 16 kilometers of drainage, 2.7 of that being slip formed, and then 250 drainage pits across the project. As well as that, the barriers that I mentioned that are a huge aspect. We've got 15 kilometers worth of barriers being installed on the project for that lane separation. And probably tying back into some of our requirements on the job, and from a sustainability lens, working under the environmental management framework, which all the Northeast Link projects will be working under. Some of our requirements here, they also tie into the IS rating that the project will be undertaking. So in terms of these requirements, we've got a 15% reduction in CO2 from materials only. So that excludes any of the on-site energy use across the project. We've got a 40% reduction in Portland cement target, and we've got a 15% reduction in, 15% use of recycled materials, and that excludes our wrap quantities as well. We also have a 50% steel by volume to be sourced from SSA accredited suppliers. So we'll talk a bit about what our resource efficiency strategy is and how we look at actually achieving some of these targets here. So when you start talking about the 15% reduction from CO2 from materials and the 40% reduction in Portland cement and the 15% use of recycled materials, we've got to look at each of the elements on the project and come up with minimum requirements to make sure that we are working towards achieving them targets. So this is a bit of a summary of what our cement replacement strategy is through SCMs. So for our piling across the job, the opportunity is to really maximize that SCM with a 70% minimum target. We also have a 50% minimum target for all of our other in situ concrete products and elements. And then we also have a 30% minimum requirement for any precast elements on the project. So this is the way that we are looking at each element or each material coming onto the project and how we set these targets within procurement to make sure we are working towards achieving our EPR, PRS requirements for the project, which we do have to report on being under their environmental management framework for the Northeast Link. This is just a little bit more detail on some of our requirements across the job that we'll include in our procurement process when going out for some of these packages that involve these elements. So we've just mentioned about concrete, but our reinforced steel, we are targeting an 80% minimum recycled content in that steel. Aggregates, we are trying to push for the 100% recycled concrete. In our noise walls, also a 70% recycled plastic content in them walls. In terms of asphalt, just achieving our maximisation of RAP in the approved DTP standards. And when we look at drainage, we've got conduits and some of the drainage backfill sand, which will target a 15% recycled content in the conduits and 100% recycled sand, whether that be NDD, recycled sand or glass. I think just to wrap it up here, some of the initiatives that we have been looking at to try and achieve some of these targets. I'll cover off a couple, but eco straps for the RSS walls, which is a good reduction in steel and the ability to use some Site 1 materials backfill. We did mention the plastic walls here, but the 70% recycled content. Megaflow Green we're using across the job, which utilizes your HDPE recycled milk bottles and has an improved drainage performance. Scent 600, which has a 39% reduction in embodied carbon, as well as an additional 16.6% recycled content from their typical reinforcing steel. We do have some elements we're looking at GFRP posts to replace traditional steel. And then we've also got the opportunity for asphalt cold recycling on site, which eliminates that RAP entering that waste stream and being able to reuse it there on site, reducing more CO2 as well from not having to transport the materials to and from site. And that's essentially it for our project. Perfect. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Tom. That was incredible. I think a lot of detail and a lot for our audience to consume. Just in the interest of time, for any questions for Tom, please pop it into the Q&A, and Tom, you can hop in the Q&A and answer those responses live. I'd like to give Reid and the team there an opportunity to talk through their project as well. And I think if we have time at the very end, maybe we can have an open Q&A with all the presenters here. So, Reid, over to you.
Hello. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Loud and clear.
Yeah,
Perfect.
great. Well, thanks so much, Tom. That was a really good introduction, I think, to the project, and you'll see a lot of similarities and similar design outcomes that we're seeking and its themes across our Eastern Freeway upgrade package. So for those of you I don't already know, my name is Reid Beecham, so I'm the Sustainability and Design Lead for the Eastern Freeway upgrade on behalf of TSA. So I'll try to give a similar kind of overview of our project scope, key requirements, and what opportunities that we see across our project and alignment. And also thanks for the introduction in the acknowledgement of country. Similarly, we are designing and building this in Wurundjeri country and have been undergoing a similar engagement process and co-design process with Wurundjeri, which has really helped our projects to connect with the country and really respond to place, and has helped to shape the outcomes of the project. So this is, of course, the whole scope of the Northeast Link project, and our scope that I'll be presenting on is that shade on the right, bottom right side. So this is the eastern portion of the Northeast Link project, and ultimately the Eastern Freeway is undergoing its first major upgrade in 30 years. So the real intent of this is to reduce travel times and improve the capacity to Melbourne's growing east. So similar in scope, we have some new express lanes, the new Eastern busway, and there's some smart technology and this broader connection into Northeast Link, which you can see there in the purple. But we are in the midst of design. So we've been undertaking some site investigations along the freeway to really inform our design and planning. And design is underway across a variety of disciplines, and procurement activities have begun. So throughout September, we'll be setting up work sites, and we'll start rolling out some safety barriers to support some of the major upgrades. But design will ultimately be undertaken really through June of next year for a lot of the key packages. So who are we? TSA as the Tram to Springvale Road Alliance consists of ARUP on the design front, with CPB and BMD supporting construction, and working closely with Vita Roads on behalf of the state. So again, an alliance model to really support a collaborative delivery approach for this project. And the Eastern Freeway upgrade, as you can see on the left side there, starts from Tram Road and runs all the way across to Springvale Road. So this includes additional lanes in both directions and has a number of connections to the intersecting arterial and local roads, as well as some of the shared user paths. In addition, it has noise walls, similar to how Tom was able to show in his presentation. So we've got some rotationally molded noise walls, as well as some existing noise walls that we've been able to retain, and some kind of concrete noise walls to support with flood mitigation as well. There is landscape activity and design across the alignment, and that supports with some of the broader, again, shared user paths that we have activating those areas as well. We have ITS, or Intelligent Transport System infrastructure, being designed all the way through commissioning. And we have express lanes and collector distributor carriageways across the alignment there. And then lastly, as a part of that pedestrian connectivity support, there is a replacement of pedestrian overpasses and the extension of some existing pedestrian overpasses as well. So similarly, we, of course, are going to be requiring a number of materials to make this project happen. And this is really just a visual representation. It's not a perfect diagram. It doesn't include everything, but I wanted a chance to show it off because the team have developed up this model that we use to actively look through the design disciplines. And so this doesn't include some of the key materials that we would have for the pavements with some aggregates and bitumen, but it does just get a sense of the different types of materials that we'll be requiring for the project and the different applications or disciplines that those are supporting. So of course we have about 200,000 tons of concrete that we're looking at for the project, a significant amount of asphalt and aggregates, as you would expect. And we have a similar quantity of steel, both for reinforcement on existing structures and walls along the alignment, as well as, again, the plastic noise walls and piping across the roughly 5 kilometers of project. So because we've been pursuing this in alignment with the Recycled First policy, we have developed up our plan and commitments table, which is ultimately a tool for us to identify opportunities and really prioritize the adoption of recycled and reused content products, or reused and recycled content products across the project. So I'll get into that in just a moment. But it's worth acknowledging that reusing resources and materials and prioritizing recycled content products really helps to support a number of the project targets that we have. So again, similar to Tom, some of these targets are included within our project requirements and specifications. So in addition to having a broader recycled material target of 30% across all materials, it's also a key contributor towards our material impact reduction targets, our Portland cement reduction targets, and prioritizing reuse is really helping with waste diversion as well. And we are looking to prioritize sustainably labeled products. So wherever there are EPDs and disclosures that improve transparency within the supply chain, that's something that we're really trying to prioritize. So ultimately, any solution that we're looking to adopt, we want it to address as many of our kind of targeted outcomes as we can, and really expand the contributions there. So we've split some of the opportunities up across application areas. So we have 6 application areas that just use with these little visual diagrams to just simplify and give an overview of the opportunity. So we'll start with our civil and pavements, run into drainage, services, some structures, and then of course our earthworks, landscaping, and urban design aspects for the project. And then there are a variety of smaller but still important construction activities and temporary works scopes that we want to acknowledge as well. So across the alignment, of course, there's a lot of pavement, a lot of civil work. So we are looking to maximize the recycled content allowable across that for all of our asphalt types. I've noted some of the key types of VP, H, type SS, and SF. And really trying to adopt, again, the maximum that we can with what's allowable within standards, and looking at that for our subbase as well. So our asphalt and all of our aggregates that make up the core of the pavement, we're looking to maximize the recycled material for, as well as looking at some of those high impact areas like our concrete use. So really looking at our cement replacement with supplementary materials across in situ precast and larger elements as well, like piling. For our drainage, we have quite a lot of reinforced concrete pipes, so varying classes, class 3, 4, 6. And we have some recycled plastic, like subsoil drainage, that you'll see along the alignment as well. A number of concrete pits, concrete culverts, head walls, geotextiles or synthetics. And a big piece of this is just trying to get the details right. Like, of course, we have a lot of concrete on this, as I mentioned. And so we've really been looking to target that and get those commitments integrated throughout design documentation and throughout our procurement. For services, we've got services all the way up and down the corridor. So looking to maximize the recycled content within those PVC conduits to the extent that's available, as well as the aggregate, both for backfill and recycled glass sand. For a number of our structures, so we have everything from large noise walls to some flood walls. We've got large piers, abutments, and bridges. As I mentioned before, each of these are being targeted in a similar fashion to what Tom had presented there, of looking at different types of applications. And we have set targets for our precast at 40% as a minimum, 65% and above for our in situ concretes, as well as big elements and piling. So that's, again, targeting those high impact areas where we can and trying to dial up the replacement as feasible. And then things like slabs, shared user paths, we might have 50% or above. And of course, with our large extent of noise walls, we're looking at rotationally molded plastic and maximizing recycled content within those plastic walls. Within our kind of earthworks and landscape and urban design approach, this is showing different layers, but ultimately there are a lot of details that are being unfolded here through design development. So we are looking to reuse a lot of timber for the furniture throughout the alignment and the landscaping. But we also have, things like mulch, we've got edging, we've got broader seating and steps, and of course we have a lot of fill of varying types. We're really trying to prioritize as much reuse within the project boundary as we can, but of course where we're needing to import from elsewhere, we're looking at recycled content for everything that we can. And then lastly is the temporary works and a lot of the construction activity. So everything from recycled material for our hoarding and temporary bollards, wheel stops, our temporary pavements, and then things like PPE and beyond. So there's quite a lot in here, and I would love a chance to hear from everyone on the line as far as what opportunities you see, and if anything in alignment with this scope seems like an opportunity. If we haven't already been in contact, it would be really great to unpack each of these opportunities a little bit further. So that's it from me. If anyone has questions.
Oh, that was great, Reid. Thank you. I think perhaps again in the interest of time, we might move to our next presenter from VHBA. But I think a key call that Reid made there is that, your contact details will be shared with all the attendees after this presentation. So please reach out. So if there's anything you didn't see in scope there, I know I'd love you provide services in temporary works and things like that as well. Please reach out to Reid and Tom because I'd love to hear from you also. But in the meantime, you can type your questions to Reid in the Q&A function, and Reid, you can pop in there and answer any that are directed at you. So thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Without further delay, I'll now hand over to Matthew, Rachel, and Lauren from the Victorian Health Building Authority. Talk to you about what's happening with health. And perfect. Let me see that.
Yeah, that coming through.
It's coming through. Perfect.
Good.
Yes.
Morning, everyone. And thanks for inviting us along, ecologiQ team. My name is Matt Sykes. I work in the sustainability team at Vida Health. And I'm joined today by my colleagues, Rachel Herr and Lauren Benet, who'll be presenting following my introduction. So the health sector's new to recycled first. So rather than present any project specific or pipeline opportunities, we're going to just introduce ourselves, explain how the recycle first policy expansion applies to the health sector, and some of the broader industry opportunities that are there now that the policy has been expanded, including a case study of a recent major project that we delivered. So first, a little bit more about who we are. Vida Health is a project office within the Victorian Infrastructure Delivery Authority, VIDA. You can see us there on the left in the new org structure. We were very recently rebranded to Vida Health from the Victorian Health Building Authority, or VIBA, as we've been known for quite a while now. However, the VIBA branding will still remain as our public-facing brand for some time. Vida Health is responsible for planning and delivering the Victorian government's multi-billion-dollar health infrastructure programme. And this includes things like hospitals, aged care facilities, mental health services, ambulance stations. And we work from business case development through to procurement delivery. And we deliver these projects on behalf of our client, the Department of Health, under a client-based model. And the projects we deliver are then handed over to the various health agencies across Victoria, who are responsible for asset operation and maintenance. Our sustainability team works across several streams. We've got a capital works team, which consists of me, Lauren, and Rachel, and we look at new projects, so new builds, refurbishments, ensuring that our sustainability guidelines and other relevant policies, such as Recycled First, are effectively implemented on those projects. And we're also responsible for making sure our guidelines are current and reflect contemporary sustainability practice. And we also have other teams that implement things like energy efficiency and solar programs across our existing portfolio, because of there's huge opportunities to improve efficiencies in the portfolio we already have. I'll now hand over to Rachel, who'll talk a bit more about the expansion of Recycle First to our sector, and how that's going to impact our projects going forward.
Great, thank you, Matt, and hello everyone. We're excited to see the Recycled First policy being expanded to all government infrastructure projects and look forward to seeing the benefits of this in the health space. At Vita Health, we are excited to be implementing the policy as it enhances existing requirements for the recycled content in health infrastructure, provides opportunities to optimize the use of recycled materials, and it also includes all of the processes required for the reporting as well. As Matt mentioned, the VHBA sustainability guidelines are an existing set of guidelines applicable to our capital works projects. And these guidelines already include requirements for recycled content, however, in a limited capacity, for example, in asphalt or curbing. So the policy is definitely a great opportunity for innovation across other building materials, such as vinyl, which is just one example of a very widely used material in hospital and clinical interiors. So with the expansion of the Recycled First policy, what this means for health projects is that the policy will be implemented into the procurement process, with opportunities for tenders to demonstrate their understanding and commitments to meet the Recycled First policy in the delivery and construction of our projects. The submission of the Recycled First plan will be required, and I believe this is exactly the same as what has been the process in the big build projects as well. And at this stage, it will be evaluated under the social procurement framework. Additionally, there are already requirements to include some recycled content materials under the sustainability guidelines, as I've mentioned on the previous slide, and projects may have also already considered additional opportunities on top of these for recycled content materials in the actual design phase, which would then be specified in the contract documents. So within the Recycled First plan, these can be included as commitments. However, tenderers are still encouraged to demonstrate further innovation in this area. At Health, the way we do our procurement is that the materials are not specified or directly procured by us, the agency. Instead, the materials are either specified or there are performance requirements within the actual contract documentation packages, whereby suitable materials are then procured by the contractors. So then how can industry be involved? Firstly, you can make yourselves visible to builders tendering on projects, demonstrating understanding of the policy intent and requirements. Secondly, industry can work with or seek assistance from the ecologiQ team, who are very friendly and very helpful. And lastly, they can seek opportunities to showcase capability and advocate for recycled material optimization. I'll now pass over to Lauren to present a health case study where recycled content materials were successfully implemented even prior to the announcement of the policy expansion.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'll be giving a little bit of an overview of the Frankston Hospital redevelopment. Next slide, thanks, Matt. So this is a $1.1 billion project delivered through a public-private partnership. And the redevelopment will deliver a 12-story clinical service tower, 15 new operating theatres, and expansion in additional care and service areas. It will also have the capacity to treat 35,000 more patient episodes each year. The brief for the project reflected a commitment to environmental outcomes across design, construction, and operation. And the sustainability brief had 3 core priorities, which were reduced resource consumption, improved health outcomes, and climate resilience. This translated into some specific strategies such as waste reduction and an extensive use of recycled materials as well. Next slide, thanks, Matt. From the sustainability brief, the Frankston Hospital redevelopment delivered a number of outcomes. The project team really prioritized recycled materials across construction and achieved quite high levels of recycled content in things like concrete, insulation, flooring, and outdoor elements as well. Additionally, waste reduction was a big success, and a standout initiative was the partnership with flooring contractor Resiloop, who collect offcuts from vinyl flooring and recycle this locally into landscaping products. And from this project, 6,450 kilos of vinyl flooring was recovered. So while the project achieved these sustainability outcomes, it also faced a few challenges. A big hurdle was sourcing locally manufactured products with recycled content due to the limited market here. Additionally, meeting health-specific requirements for things like durability and infection control was difficult at times. There was also some limitations in transparency. Many products lack that clear data on recycled content or sourcing. There were also regulatory constraints, as there are some standards that restrict the use of recycled materials in certain applications like pressurized pipes. In some cases, the materials with recycled content didn't meet the aesthetic requirements needed for the project. I think that was the case for the external footpaths. And lastly, there were at times conflicting sustainability drivers, balancing things like local sourcing and low embodied carbon. The challenges faced that I just mentioned in using recycled materials highlight a big opportunity to drive demand and raise awareness for recycled content in health infrastructure. Hopefully, by creating some strong market signals, we can encourage manufacturers to develop new building products tailored to health settings and address those challenges, which is especially important here in Victoria, where the options can be quite limited. A great example of this is Resiloop. As I just mentioned, the flooring offcuts that they collect are currently being recycled into landscaping products because manufacturers don't have the capacity for reusing it as flooring product yet. So hopefully, if we continue to drive demand, we can help to close that loop and support local industry as well. So that's all from us. Thanks for dialing in, and feel free to contact us on the email listed on the slide.
Thank you, Lauren, and thank you, team. So we've got a few minutes left. I'm having a quick look in the Q&A. I think Tom and Reid, I think you've done a great job answering most of those questions. But maybe we'll just spend the last couple minutes going through some of the open ones. So I've got here a question from Rachel Roberts. Hi, any views to use high SEM concrete given the volume opportunity? I'm not sure if this is directed to anyone in particular, or obviously all our projects are looking at high SEM replacements.
Certainly. A big priority for material selection, just given the impacts, of course, across infrastructure. That's a big focus. So I think it's really just about trying to ensure that the appropriate applications have the appropriate replacement levels. And I think the industry has evolved quite substantially over the past few years to really drive those replacement levels up.
All right, thanks, Reid. The next question here from Nicole Cook. What sort of materials are being considered for lane separation barriers? Probably one for our transport projects.
Are you talking about permanent barriers?
I would assume
across the alignment, because a lot of those are going to be concrete barriers with reinforcement. And so it would be similar opportunities aligned with those, unless you're talking about temporary.
Yeah, I was
But
going to jump in there as well. Yeah, similar for us, the 15K of barriers are predominantly concrete across the job. And that's where we're targeting some of them higher, I think at 50% SCM for them barriers, to really maximize that content in a large quantity of concrete.
Right, thank you. Next question here is from Lucretia. As you've got two, an offer and a question. So, hi, Lucretia from Societal Outcome Solutions. We have a number of social procurement products and services that are also environmentally sustainable, including certified green concrete. They'd be keen to explore this opportunity with, I think, probably all three parties here. And Lucretia has a question around. SOS also have circular economy, stormwater solutions, and ESD materials. Will your team explore new initiatives, I suppose, alternatives for drainage and stormwater management? Is that still on the cards for your projects?
We're still very early with design, so feel free to reach out with any of the opportunities. So yeah, the email that'll be provided at the end of this, reach out and sure to have a bit of a look at some of the products.
Right. And just continuing on the order, I think Lucretia is asking, is there any extra weighting for environmental products delivered by social benefit suppliers?
I'll touch on that. I think ultimately all of our procurement activities are being weighted across a diverse kind of spectrum of considerations. And I mentioned a bit for ours, ultimately, where products are able to contribute strongly towards each of those outcomes. That's reflected in the scoring and weighting across procurement. So that's true across packages, in line with kind of key sustainable procurement best practice. But so yeah, the more that we consider these holistically, really the better outcomes that we see we can get. But good question.
Yeah, similarly on our project, the non-financial aspects of any supplier are looked at, in great detail. So if it is having that environmental benefit as well as a social benefit there, we definitely take that into strong consideration.
Right, thank you. And this is just a clarification from Nicole Cook, the question earlier about the road separation. I think Nicole adds, thanks, I was interested to see if the Safe Roads concrete barriers with crumb rubber were being considered. So I assume you're familiar with that product that's been launched by Safe Roads.
Yep, that is being considered definitely by us for our Eastern package. Thanks.
Thank you. And as I think a comment from Catherine from an earlier.
I think we lost Dewey, but if it's regarding the slot drain solutions, I'd love to hear what product you have to share with that 96% recycled content. So please reach out. Thanks.
Yeah, likewise for that one.
Thank you. And I might just jump in. And another question from Rina. So yeah, from Assembly Fred, they are currently manufacturing 100% recycled slate socks for the Stratis. Yeah, I think you have heard all these products before. So yeah, also with the high vest. So are you considering those or anything additional you would like to add?
I'll probably just say, yeah, definitely aware of all them products. And as we start getting to site, a lot of them will be some of the construction elements for the temp works. So we'll be able to look into them closer to procurement.
Yeah, likewise. Well, a lot of this is really dependent on the procurement processes as they unfold for each of the relative packages, but certainly have been identified and will be considered. Thanks.
seems we are all experiencing some kind of internet issues. Another question from Catherine. Yeah, for the information, feel free to send it to us and then we can further distribute to all our presenters afterwards. So, yeah. And another question from Samantha. So, an update from the flooring supplier to the Frankston Hospital project. So, they have started the Victorian reuse of their materials back into manufacturing for their local flooring. So they want to discuss and understand if there's like an appetite or yeah, so that's probably something for the VHBA team, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, no, that's really good news, and it's a bit of an update from the information we had on the Frankston project. So that's really good that that's moved. And in terms of understanding the demand and any opportunities for pilots, I think we can definitely talk offline about where that might be. Yeah, feel free to get in touch directly.
Yep. Thanks, Samantha. And we will also pass on all the suppliers' contact to all our presenters after the event today. So yeah, you definitely get your contacts for. Yeah. Thank you. And maybe one last question given the time. So yeah. Also another question from Linda for the hospital vinyl flooring again. So are you considering the adhesive-free vinyl flooring, which eases recycling opportunity? That's the question.
Not something that I've specifically looked at, but if that's a new opportunity to especially assist with the end of life treatments, because we know that's an issue with flooring that we take out of our existing facilities, is it's so covered in glue and difficult to separate that it's difficult to recycle. Certainly looking at the ResiLoop initiative, that's all cuts from installed flooring, so it hasn't got the same issue. But yeah, certainly thinking whole of life, if we can improve those end of life opportunities, that'd be great, as long as we still meet all our obviously performance requirements in health.
Yeah,
but happy to discuss again the details of it.
Yeah, feel free to send us more details, Linda, if you got anything. And given the time, I think it's probably time for us to wrap up, and for the remaining questions we will get back to you later. And I saw Doi is back online. Would you do like a conclusion?
Thank you, Charlotte. Since it looks like my plane did go down for a moment there, there's a number of great questions, so we'll endeavour to get back to all of you. So if our presenters are happy, we'll collate the presentations and share it out along with a recording of this session for everyone who came here today and who missed it. And I'll just share my screen so you can catch the just a recap there. So if you want to reach out to Tom, that's Tom's email there. And again, we can reach out to Reid. There's Reid's email there as well on screen. And I think VHBA, you provided a general email earlier, which I'll send out along for any inquiries as well. So please reach out and get the dialogue started. Last but not least, I think you heard Lauren mentioned earlier about sort of the assistance that we can provide. I think one of the best ways for the audience here to get in contact with projects like this and more is to come along to the 2025 ecologiQ conference. So we've made a big song and dance about this. I'm sure you've heard of it, but if you haven't, this year we've partnered with the Waste Expo. So there's sort of three key elements to this. One, our conference and plenary is a ticketed component, and I reckon that's the best way you can get involved in having the steering and the contributing to the conversations about circular economy. So we do have an action-packed agenda, which you can check out at the conference webpage on our website, The Big Build, or if you go to the Waste Expo page as well. Secondly, we have our trade hall, which will be this is the part of this year's conference. This will be free to attend, and there's still spots available for exhibitors. So if you're a business out there and you're looking to break into the space or be seen, be visible, like we mentioned earlier, this is hands down the best way to do that, and hopefully get picked up by not just transport projects, by partnering with Waste Expo, you're going to get huge exposure to what we expect to be over 3,000 to 4,000 people attending over those 2 days. So if you're a business out there and you're thinking about presenting at exhibiting at an expo, I reckon this is probably the best one that you can pick this year. So, and if you have any more information, come along. You can click on that and find out more. And the last thing that I'll add is our contact details are changing. So ecologiQ is now part of the Victorian Infrastructure Delivery Authority as well. So many acronyms. And so as of I think next Friday, our emails will move away from @roadprojects to @vita.vic.gov.au alongside our colleagues at the Victorian Health Building Authority. So thank you for coming along today. We'll send this out. I want to thank our presenters from all three projects and authorities for coming along and sharing the scope of works with the audience here. I'm sure it was really insightful, and I hope to see you in person at this year's conference, if not online. Thanks again, everyone, for coming along.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.